household item. Hey, hon, do me a favor and hold the ladder for me.
I have a better idea. Let's just call somebody to clean the gutters.
To scoop out a few leaves? I'll be down in a heartbeat. Whoa!
Using a ladder might seem easy. Misusing one is even easier. Ask any of the 150,000 people who fell off the ladders into the trauma center last year alone. Don't let a do-it-yourself project do yourself in. For tips on ladder safety, visit orthoinfo.org, a public service message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, who want to keep your bones safe, strong, and connected.
Hey, welcome in. We're getting ready to start the show. We're playing the intro music, and we'll be taking off here in a matter of seconds. So thanks for joining us. Well, it certainly appears that the Franklin County Commissioners are going to have to be forced to comply with Donald Trump's executive orders that ban DEI initiatives. The Columbus Board of Education reluctantly came to the conclusion that it could not fight those orders. Ohio State, it seems, is willing to comply without being forced to. But if the story today in the Columbus Dispatch about where Franklin County Commissioners have started to dole out some of the money that they have at their disposal, no doubt some of it from the federal government, since the federal government last year funded local Ohio governments to the tune of $39 billion. I got to assume some of that goes to the Franklin County Commissioners. And the threat, promise, whatever it is from the Trump administration is that your federal funding will be taken to zero if you do not comply with the federal government initiative that outlaws DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Jordan Laird's story in the Dispatch today says that Franklin County Commissioners, led by what appears to be the wokest of the three, all Democrats, of course, Kevin Boyce, the guy who cowardly stepped away from his promised delivery of a speech on Veterans Day. I think it was Veterans Day. No, it was Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King Day, because Trump had signed an executive order that obviously the Franklin County Commissioners have no interest in complying with, that you cannot speak about, glorify, extol, esteem, advance DEI initiatives. Kevin Boyce used that because, well, if I can't talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion on Martin Luther King Day, then I'm just not going to speak. I'm going to take my football and go home. I wonder how you feel this morning if you are a resident of Linden, the Hilltop, the Near East Side, Whitehall, any of the blighted areas of Columbus, knowing that the Franklin County Commissioners, all three of them, voted unanimously earlier this week to give $276,000 to Stonewall Columbus to fund the 2025 Columbus Pride Festival. So more than $250,000 given to Stonewall Columbus so that deviants can shake their naked body parts in the face of children in the short north. What's the verse from Psalms? Oh, yeah. The wicked freely strut about when what is vile is glorified by men. Here's Kevin Boyce's quote. There are those who believe that diversity, equity, and inclusion is quote unquote dead, or we need to get rid of it. This investment to me couldn't be more timely. Well, that's fine and dandy, Mr. Boyce. I have taken the opportunity today to post on social media to the attention of Congressman Mike Carey, Senator Bernie Moreno, Vice President J.D. Vance, and the Department of Government Efficiency, the link to this story where you are in clear defiance of what Donald Trump's executive order outlawing the prioritization of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives stipulates, that you don't do it anymore. Last year, Jordan Laird in the Dispatch reports that county commissioners awarded a little under $10 million in grants through its Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. This is now an illegal portion of Franklin County Commissioner's work. It is illegal Donald Trump made it so with his executive order. And so I would encourage you, as a listener here to the Bruce Hooley Show, to reach out, do it on the phone, do it on email, do it on social media, however you want to do it, but direct the attention of federal officials to this utter nonsensical waste of your money through this office that cannot exist according to one of the myriad executive orders that Donald Trump has signed. The County Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, I'm reading right from the story, prioritizes grants based on a plan the commissioners adopted in 2019 called Rise Together, a blueprint for reducing poverty in Franklin County. Well, I'm all for reducing poverty in Franklin County. But awarding money to organizations based upon their immutable characteristics is not legal. There are Supreme Court rulings that have clearly made such initiatives illegal. Donald Trump's executive order clearly made such initiatives illegal. And you don't have to like Trump's executive order, Mr. Boyce, John O'Grady, and the other commissioner. You don't have to like it, but you do have to comply with it. And if you're not going to comply voluntarily, then I'll do everything I can, and I hope every listener of this show does everything they can to bring you to heel by letting officials in Washington, D.C. know that you are in direct and open defiance of what is now the law of the land. Now, as you might expect, Ohio State is not taking a hardline stance on this. President Top Gun Ted Carter yesterday at the Board of Trustees meeting said that the university has been preparing for the change in focus and initiatives that would come with a new presidential administration. He said they are monitoring these new developments and is evaluating its DEI jobs and projects because the Department of Education has made clear that these race-based initiatives have to be eliminated. And Carter will not have to be cudgeled into doing this. He says Ohio State will accelerate its work in these areas. He said he went to Washington, D.C. recently. He met with Bernie Moreno and John Husted. Those are our two senators, of course. Husted replacing J.D. Vance, who's ascended to the vice presidency, thankfully, due to Donald Trump's win on November the 5th. And also yesterday, Ohio State greenlit the recognition of the Salmon P. Chase Center for Civics, Culture, and Society. This is part of a state government initiative to reintroduce balanced teaching to courses at Ohio State. We have a deplorable lack of civics in this country. We have seen a growing sentiment on the left to strip away, erode the very things that set our culture, our society, and our country apart from others around the world and make our country the best country in the history of mankind. Specifically, you know, my number one thing that differentiates us is our freedom of speech. And there has not been, no matter how much they deny it, a freedom of speech on college campuses for the last at least 40 years and probably longer. The University Senate, of course, made up of faculty, students, staff, and administrators, voted against the Salmon P. Chase Center, which is going to be, we're going to have one of those at Ohio State. We're going to have one, I think, at Cleveland State, University of Cincinnati. I think there's 6 universities in the state of Ohio where they have to have these. I think the University of Akron is another. But of course, the people who are on the inside of these initiatives, the students who have been indoctrinated, the faculty who has indoctrinated them and who were quite likely indoctrinated themselves when they were in school, voted against recognizing the Salmon P. Chase Center. But it is going to happen. And I dare say Franklin County is going to be brought to heel on this, just like the Columbus City School Board was. Obvious, earlier this week, the Columbus City Board of Education did not want to comply with federal initiatives that say that you have to have only biological boys in girls' bathrooms, only biological boys in girls' sports. You don't have to want to like it. Here is a newsflash for you, Democrats. We did not like it at all, not one bit, when you dictated to us, but you had the power of the presidency, the power of the U.S. Senate behind you during the latter half of Joe Biden's presidency. And we tried to make our points and win in the court of public opinion. And to some degree we did, but to other extents we did not. But we called you out for your nonsense. And enough people in the country realized the degree to which the Biden administration and your Democratic policies were stripping away at the things that are consequential to freedom and liberty and all the things that Americans hold dear. And that's why you lost the election. And as your great hero, diminished though he is by Donald Trump's 2 victories as president, as your great hero, Barack Obama, once said, elections have consequences. And you will, to quote another Democratic moron, Chuck Schumer, reap the whirlwind on these things if you continue to fight. I hope Franklin County gets stripped of every dollar of federal funding, and I'll do everything I can to make that happen.
Afternoon, clouds and cold, a couple of flurries, breezy, high today 20. Cloudy and cold, flurries tonight will 17. Clouds tomorrow morning, partly sunny by the afternoon, still a cold day, high tomorrow is 28. And then partly cloudy tomorrow night will 13. Clouds on Saturday, the high 34. Sunny skies, a bit warmer on Sunday with a high 40. And then partly sunny on Monday, high 44. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Birthday to two surprises for you, 2 surprises from NordVPN, 2 surprises for you. Celebrate twice as much with NordVPN. We have a special birthday deal. Get 70.
I got Matt in there for 12.
Okay, great picks.
Great. NordVPN is rated as excellent on PC and Mac. Visit NordVPN.com and discover one of the most advanced VPNs in the world. What are the benefits? Secure up to 10 devices with a single account. Receive alerts if your email address leaks to the dark web. Reduce the risk of phishing, scams, and malware with NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro tool. Encrypt your online traffic and browse with more peace of mind. Get the special birthday deal at NordVPN.com. Additional terms apply. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
Planning for retirement is no small task. If you don't know where to start, join Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group every Saturday at 10 and 2 for Retire Ready Ohio. Rodney shares helpful tips and strategies that just might change the course of your retirement. Listen every Saturday at 10 and 2 to Retire Ready Ohio with Rodney Peters. Firm offers insurance services, investment advisory services are offered through Peters Wealth Group, a state-registered investment advisor.
New Connection Technology and the Consumer Technology Association wants to help you protect the security of your devices. First, don't use default or easy-to-guess passwords. Create unique ones and keep them safe. Next, look for and install security updates from device manufacturers. Also, have an active firewall for your home router and consider using a professional installer to set up your new devices. Tips from the Consumer Technology Association to help keep your devices secure.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Water. You rely on it daily. But what do you really know about it? There is so much more to H2O than you realize. Did you know that tap water provides us with a low-cost way to stay hydrated, public health and fire protection, and nearly every product that we use every day? The more you know about your H2O, the more there is to learn. To learn more, visit drinktap.org. This message is brought to you by the American Water Works Association and your local water provider.
Make 989theanswer.com your home for all things conservative talk. Great links to townhall.com, redstate.com, hotair.com, 3 great conservative sites where you get columnists from around the country weighing in on the news events of the day. Of course, if you miss anything here on the station, you have a favorite program. Maybe it's mine, maybe it's Mike Gallagher, maybe it's Larry Elder at night, and you're busy and you can't hear a segment, or you maybe missed the entire show. You can podcast that. We have a podcast page at 989theanswer.com where you will find any segment that you missed. You can easily download the 989 The Answer app in the iTunes and Google Play Store, and then take us with you wherever you go. Also, links to the Discount Shopping Club, where we have great bargains, half-off bargains, on many big-ticket items that will take far less of a bite out of your budget than would otherwise be true if you paid full price. So make it a habit to visit 989theanswer.com. Oh, boy, we might be in trouble. We might be in trouble. Those of us who are conservatives, those of us who are enjoying what is now the second month of the Trump presidency. He's been in office. I think this is day 31. So since we're in February, we'll count it as a start of a second month. We might be in trouble, though, because Columbus Democratic Congresswoman Joyce Beatty announced yesterday in front of a fawning, adoring crowd at the Columbus Metropolitan Club that she is part of a, quote, strike team formed by House Democrats to combat President Donald Trump's administration with legislation, which parenthetically they have no chance of passing because Republicans control the House and Senate, and they don't have even a simple majority, let alone the kind of majorities that they would need in either body to override a presidential veto. But they will, they say, combat Donald Trump's administration with legislation in the courts, where they lost in front of Obama Judge Tanya Chutkan on Wednesday, and with messaging. Well, it is just nice for me to see that Joyce Beatty at least thinks she's relevant enough to be a part of the Democratic resistance, because I've noticed something over the last couple of weeks. While all the Democratic banshees have been crying out loud in their public protests against Donald Trump and his executive orders, I've seen clips of Ayanna Pressley, I've seen Ilhan Omar, I've seen AOC, I've seen Jamie Raskin, I've seen Chris Coons, I've seen Chris Murphy. Joyce Beatty can never get even into the front row. She's always like hovering over the person talking in the back, like, please put me in the picture. I'm so irrelevant. I was the head of the Congressional Black Caucus. I mean, that's a pretty big job. But it doesn't seem like Joyce is getting much airtime. Well, yesterday she spoke at the Columbus Metropolitan Club, and she got 2 standing ovations. Well, I know a couple guys who belong to the Columbus Metropolitan Club who probably weren't standing when Joyce Beatty was attacking Trump on his initiatives to do away with diversity, equity, and inclusion. She said Donald Trump wants to be a dictator. Maybe he just wants to be president. Maybe he just wants you to follow his executive orders the way that you followed Joe Biden's. I wouldn't worry too much about the Democratic strike team. particularly since it is headed by the inconsequential air traffic controller, Hakeem Jeffries. I call him the head of the House Minority Caucus. I call him the air traffic controller because Hakeem Jeffries, if you've ever watched him speak, he certainly appears utterly and completely incapable of speaking without wildly waving his hands around, as if you've empowered him with one of those orange cone flashlights, and he is the Barney Fife of directing traffic at the local July 4th parade. No, you can't park here. You park here. I have the orange flashlight, or I'm bringing the planes in because I'm wildly moving my hands. Donald Trump's been in office. We just said 1 month. Listen to Hakeem Jeffries say something that I don't think any person in America believes, because typically it takes a president longer than 1 month to make a consequential difference on a matter as complicated as inflation, but not according to Hakeem Jeffries. Listen to him. This is the kind of opposition we are dealing with.
This administration is making America weaker across the world and creating the space for people like China and Russia to step in, while hurting everyday Americans. Captain Chaos and the extreme MAGA Republicans spent lower the high cost of living and running away from Project 2025 as if it didn't exist. They've spent this year implementing the most extreme parts of the Project 2025 agenda, which will hurt the American people, while doing nothing, not a single thing, not a single bill, not a single idea, not a single plan to lower the high cost of living. In fact, the cost of groceries is going up, not down, including but not limited to the price of eggs. We've got to hold the Republicans accountable, and we will, for the lies and the broken promises that they've told to the American people.
How refreshing that this newfound obsession Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats have with prices, particularly egg prices. I don't recall, nor do you, because it didn't happen, any concern, any mention, any acknowledgement of the fact that inflation soared to 40-year highs of 9.1% year over year under Joe Biden. I don't remember, because my brain works, Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats throwing a hissy fit over it, but he wasn't done. He just kept talking and talking and talking about how terrible it is that Republicans haven't lowered prices yet.
We cannot let the Republicans get away with their silence and inaction as it relates to the high cost of living in the United States of America. It's a problem. Housing costs are too high. Grocery costs are too high.
I wonder why.
Costs are too high. Utility costs are too high. And childcare costs are too high. America is clearly too expensive. That's a problem that has to be fixed. The Republicans, who now control the House, the Senate, and the presidency, promised to work to try to solve that problem. They have no interest in doing so. It was a lie. And we've got to make it clear to the American people. They broke that promise, but House Democrats are determined to keep it.
Oh, sure.
Because we do believe that we have to build an affordable economy, that everyone in this country should have an opportunity to live the great American middle class dream, not simply to survive day to day, but to thrive.
31 days. Look, Trump is good. Trump is talented. Doge is good. Elon Musk is talented. I don't share the Democrats' doubt of the tech geniuses that Elon Musk has brought in to cut government waste, fraud, and abuse. But I don't even think Donald Trump is good enough to fix all the problems Joe Biden created with his rampant, unjustifiable spending in 4 years. I don't think Trump's good enough to get all that corrected in 30 days. Maybe he didn't have much of a cabinet until about a week ago. Today, hopefully, he gets Kash Patel confirmed as his FBI director. Pam Bondi's on the job. Got Doug Burgum on the job at Interior. We got Scott Besson at Treasury. Hakeem Jeffries wants immediate results. He's waving his hands wildly. You must do something.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason. Senator Mitch McConnell going to retire at the end of his current term. The Kentucky Republican making his announcement today on his 83rd birthday. McConnell's term will end in January of 2027. The Senate set to take a final vote today on confirmation of FBI Director nominee Kash Patel. His confirmation is expected unless more than 3 Republicans join the Democrats in voting against the nominee. In the words of Israel's president, the hearts of an entire nation lie in tatters. Isaac Herzog's remarks follow the release today of the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages who died while in Hamas captivity in Gaza. How about a Doge dividend? President Trump thinking about it, returning some of the savings of the government efficiency initiative to U.S. taxpayers. On Wall Street this morning, stocks sharply lower. More details, srnnews.com.
3 years ago, I wrapped up a run of Annie playing Daddy Warbucks with the South Carolina Children's Theater. I was about 50 pounds overweight, tired, sick, fed up with the way I felt. Hey, it's Mike Gallagher. I decided to do something, so I scheduled my weight loss consultation with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. As they say, the rest is history. Just a few months, I've lost 53 pounds. I got control of my health. 3 years later, I've kept the weight off, and I feel better than ever. Call 864-502-1777. I was. Do what I did. Call PhD Weight Loss. It'll change your life. It's fast. It's simple. They won't let you fail. Just give them a call. 864-502-1777. Schedule your weight loss consultation. 864-502-1777. Here's the best part. The first 11 callers who mention the word healthy will get 2 free weeks added to their weight loss package. Don't wait. Call 864-502-1777. Mention healthy to get 2 free weeks or visit them online, My PhD Weight.
He's one of the top 10 radio hosts in the country. He never varnishes his opinions. And now more than ever, you need to spend part of your day with a healthy dose of the Mike Gallagher Show. Weekday mornings from 9 to 11 on 98.9 FM. The Answer.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. The Budget Committee of the House of Representatives has now passed a budget resolution. And now
Hugh Hewitt.
The House's full floor. Some GOP moderates don't like it.
Wow.
Some fiscal hawks don't like
Mr.
it.
Afternoon
it is, however,
host.
the Sorcerer's Stone for the House and Senate Republican caucuses. Failure to pass it would be catastrophic for the country and the party. Anyone voting against it can expect a primary challenge in 2026. It's a time for choosing. The stakes are enormous. The critical parts of that campaign agenda are a huge increase in resources to secure the border, detain illegal immigrants, and deport dangerous migrants. Also on that agenda, an increase in defense spending, especially for the Navy and its ship procurement and maintenance outlays. President Donald Trump has made his priorities very clear. Now it's up to the GOP congressional majorities to carry things through. It begins with the budget resolution. I'm Hugh Hewitt.
Bad decisions limit future options. Make enough bad decisions and you will destroy your life. Listen to The Flot Line with your host Rick Hughes every Sunday morning at 8 here on 98.9 FM The Answer. The Flot Line describes a main line of resistance in your soul built on God's Word. Join us every Sunday for 30 minutes of inspiration, motivation, education, all without manipulation. That's The Flot Line with Rick Hughes. Sunday mornings at 8, right here on 98.9 FM The Answer.
News, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, The Answer, anywhere you go. With The Answer's mobile app at 98.9theanswer.com. Also on your smart speakers, TuneIn, or iHeart.
A flooring remodeling project in your future? If so, I hope you go to brucehooley.com and click on flooring, because I would love to be able to help you with that. I've had a couple consultations with customers this week, and technology affords us a lot of things that make it more convenient to do your flooring. For instance, if you just describe what kind of flooring you're looking for, I can go into our warehouse. I can take photographs on my phone of the kinds of products that we have, send them to you, and you go, yeah, a little bit more like this, a little bit less like that. And then we can narrow down the process so then I can bring to your home exactly what you want and explain to you why. It can save you a ton of money because our retail location is not in a high rent district. We don't have fancy wrap vehicles. And as our owner says, vice presidents in charge of bathrooms. We also employ our own installers. So you will save and you will get your product in faster. And it'll be the exact same stuff you get at a big box store. If you go to brucehooley.com and click flooring, brucehooley.com, easy for me to say, and click flooring. The scenes were utterly despicable when the bodies of 4 slain Israeli hostages were paraded in front of Hamas supporters. Today, the level of evil in people who celebrate the death of a mother and 2 children, almost incomprehensible that anybody could be that consumed with hate. There is no way a 2-state solution will ever work with Hamas living next to Israel. It will not ever work. And the level of hatred that Hamas supporters have for all Jewish people is demonstrated every single day by the way that Hamas holds on to hostages even after they are dead. Shiri Bibas and her 2 toddlers, Ariel and Kafir, as well as an 83-year-old retired journalist, were returned today to Israel. Israel, by contrast, lets out of prison Hamas terrorists who previously tried to kill or probably did kill Jews, and Israel releases them to go back into their radical initiatives that earned them their spot in prison before. They should have just put them to death, because that is the only way you will solve the ongoing escalation of evil in the minds and the hearts of these people. Here is Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, Fox News commentator, now nominated as President Trump's ambassador to Israel, talking about the scene, the reaction to Hamas, not just celebrating, not just parading these coffins of these babies, but they returned the coffins to Israel via the Red Cross. The coffins were locked, and the keys that Hamas supplied to open the coffins were not the right keys. Here's Mike Huckabee talking about all of that.
For this family who had to wait over 500 days to know the disposition of their loved ones. And then when they find out, their bodies come home in coffins that were locked by Hamas, and they handed keys to the Red Cross, but the keys did not fit the coffins. I mean, it's just another insult to injury. And then parading these coffins through a large crowd of cheering people was just another insult to injury. These people have no bounds of decency, none whatsoever. And Hamas has really demonstrated every single day why they cannot remain in any part of control, not just of Gaza, but anywhere. They just are savages.
He's right. Every word of that is true. They are savages. It has been bred into them. Hamas has used its own citizens as human shields. It puts its weapons storage facilities in hospitals and in schools and uses its own citizens as human shields against the Israelis. They will not fight fair. They never will fight fair. They will always be planning another October 7th. And unless Hamas is eradicated, the Jews will always be dealing with this threat, the kind that happened on October 7th, the worst day of murder of Jews since the Holocaust. They will always be dealing with this in Israel as long as Hamas is allowed to survive. Here's Australian commentator Chris Kenny, who gets emotional talking about this return of this mother and her 2 young children.
Need any clarification about the horrors of the Middle East conflict and the absolute heartlessness, brutality, and depravity of the terrorists of Hamas and their supporters, then it comes today in the form of an announcement from that bloodthirsty Islamist extremist outfit. Here it is reported by the BBC. Hamas announcing it is to return 4 bodies of hostages. Hamas says it will hand over the bodies of 4 hostages on Thursday, including the 2 youngest people held by the Palestinian armed group. The group's negotiator, Khalil al-Hayyan, said the bodies to be released would include those of the Bibas family, Shiri, and her young children, Kafir and Ariel, who were aged 9 months and 4 years when Hamas kidnapped them during the 7th of October 2023 attack. The dead bodies of this young mother and her 2 infant sons are to be returned. This is the horrific news we have been dreading since the very first hours of this trauma. This abomination more than 16 months ago. That's when we saw video footage filmed by the terrorists or the Gazan civilians supporting them as they took Shiri Bibas hostage, as they kidnapped her at gunpoint, along with little Kafir and Ariel, as she clung desperately to them. We don't show you that vision because the family in Israel finds it too distressing. There they were, alive and healthy, when taken by these monsters. Now they are dead. This has long been suspected. They may have been dead for over a year. However they died during this conflict, they are only dead because these evil terrorists kidnapped them. So Hamas killed them. They are only dead because Hamas and its supporters considered that apart from slaughtering and defiling innocent men, women, and children, it was also okay to take a mother and her 4-year-old and her 9-month-old sons, take these children hostage to keep them as human shields while they committed their atrocities and deliberately incited their horrible and pointless war.
100%, every word of that. And I came across another story today about a person who was in Israel on the day of the attack, and someone who is transgender. It's an American. Maya was living as a transgender man in Israel on October the 7th, 2023, when sirens sent him running for a bomb shelter on the day of Hamas's brutal attack. It was on that day that Maya realized the gender ideology he held so dear was a frivolous belief in an active war zone. I've always said, we have such comfort in the United States of America that we can spend our time theorizing over the nonsensical thought that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man. Here's the quote from this person. I became significantly less concerned about all this gender crap in the aftermath of the attacks. I realized there were more important things in life than my gender dysphoria because I had to save myself. He goes on to say, it was really in those moments where I was like, why am I even doing this trans thing anymore? I was taking so much brain space to play all these trans mind games. I realized that my body is the only thing that's going to allow me to survive, and that my body is not a pathology. War-torn countries have limited healthcare resources to turn people who are sick into people who are healthy. But in rich countries like the United States, you have basically unlimited resources to take a young, healthy person and turn them into a lifelong medical patient. This is absolutely true. It is a measure of our detachment from reality, a detachment from the comfort and security that we have in the United States of America, that we can occupy our time with silly agendas, which are, as I outlined in the opening segment of this show, endorsed by and financed by the highest echelons of government, with the Franklin County Commissioners giving $10 million to DEI initiatives. If you want to know how this country is going to be broken, if in fact it ever happens, because we're not mentioned in the Bible at the end of time, it is because we will concern ourselves with trivial matters like we are doing now.
Afternoon, clouds and cold, a couple of flurries. High today 20. Cloudy and cold, flurries tonight low 17. Clouds tomorrow morning, partly sunny for the afternoon. Still a cold day. The high tomorrow at 28. And then partly cloudy, frigid tomorrow night low 13. Clouds on Saturday, the high reaching 34. Sunny skies, a bit warmer on Sunday with a high 40. And then partly sunny on Monday, high 44. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
This is Josh Pick with Aptus Wealth Management. The U.S. and the world have certainly changed a lot in the last few years. We're facing money dangers that we haven't seen in a long time, maybe ever. Inflation continues to be a problem. Interest rate increases have made purchases like cars and homes seemingly impossible for some, and retirement looks like a scary proposition. For many, it appears to be a dire situation and has left them paralyzed and fearful. You are not helpless, and there are ways to gain back control. At Aptus, we help our clients navigate the labyrinth of retirement planning and educate them on how to make appropriate choices for their individual situation. Whether you have never met with a fiduciary investment advisor before, or you just want a second opinion, we're here to help. Call our office today at 614-917-1040 and learn how a cost-free complimentary meeting may be the key to putting your money to work and your mind at ease. And don't forget to listen to the Aptus Blueprint Radio Show Friday evenings at 6, Saturday afternoons at noon, or call our office today at 614-917-1040.
Hey, Carl Jackson here for Dennis Prager. While Dennis Prager is recuperating, we know you miss your daily dose of Dennis. That's why Pragertopia is giving you a special gift. Right now, Pragertopia members can hear the best 2 hours of Dennis's favorite segments from as far back as 2010. On Monday, you can hear the Happiness Hour.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I'm about.
Tuesday is Celebrity Guest Day.
Donald Trump Jr. is in studio with me.
On Wednesday, it's the Male-Female Hour.
I really do wish there were a way to ascertain the number of marriages that this hour has helped.
Thursday, the Ultimate Issues Hour.
Not having ultimate issues clarity is like having a map, but you don't know where you're going.
And Friday is Open Lines.
Feel free to ask me anything about me, about you, about life.
So if you're missing your daily dose of Dennis, go to Pragertopia.com and hear all your favorite segments along with lectures, celebrity interviews, and his famous Torah teachings and more. Get your daily dose of Dennis at Pragertopia.com, Pragertopia.com.
A new president is sworn in. America's greatness is being restored. And there's breaking news every minute. Now, tens of millions of Americans are turning off Fox and CNN and tuning in to Newsmax for the breaking information they really need to know. Reuters Institute says Newsmax is one of the top news brands in America. Find it yourself on all major cable systems and on your TV or smartphone store. Just download the Newsmax app for free and start watching. You'll get great shows with Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, Rob Finnerty, and Carl Higbee, and more. Find out why millions of Americans have made the switch. Even President Trump says Newsmax is terrific, and he's watching. So make the switch to Newsmax. Check us out on cable and satellite TV, or download the Newsmax app today. Watch us anytime, anywhere. Remember, Newsmax is real news for real people.
President Trump is moving at lightning speed.
Billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse.
Executive orders, new policies, promises kept. It's hard to keep up until now. Subscribe to the Trump Report. This email brings you daily highlights from the Oval Office right to your inbox 5 days a week.
The golden age of America begins right now.
It'll help you follow President Trump at the speed of Trump.
Subscribe to the Trump Report. Go to 989theanswer.com. 989theanswer.com.
Get out of pain before spring gets here. That way, if you get to QC Kinetics, their clinics in Dublin and Gehenna, and undergo advanced biologic therapies, cellular treatments that allow your body to do what it's designed to do, which is heal itself, then you'll be able to enjoy the weather when it breaks, when we get warmer temperatures, and when you want to go outside and you want to work in your landscape beds, or you just want to take a walk around the neighborhood because, you know, we got cabin fever after being cooped up during this exceedingly cold week. Advanced biologic therapies is a fancy way of saying QC Kinetics, real, innovative medical science, withdraws your blood, concentrates the healing agents called platelets, and re-injects it into your affected area. It could be your knee, your hip, your back, your elbow, wherever you have pain. If you've been told you're bone on bone, you need surgery, you need to be tethered to conventional medicine. Nope, not necessarily true. Take advantage of the free consultation at QC Kinetics in Gehenna and Dublin. Call them and set it up. 380-208-4544, 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. I bumped into someone yesterday that I used to know in a former professional life, and he was a little surprised to hear that I'm not invested in caring about sports anymore like I used to when it was my profession. But I got to admit, if you were the president of the United States and you could go to any sporting event or any event that you wanted to, that would be pretty cool. Donald Trump tonight, however, will not be in Boston for the final of the Four Nations hockey tournament, where the United States will be playing Canada. Now, there's a great amount of attention on this game because the other night, what was it? Was it last Friday, last Saturday? Whenever they played in the round robin portion of the tournament, Sweden, Finland, U.S., Canada. Well, we had 3 fights before we had 10 seconds of hockey played. And the reason why I think we had 3 fights is because the Canadian crowd, the game was played in Montreal, the Canadian crowd lustily booed the U.S. national anthem. So tensions were already high. Canada, U.S., these guys not been able to play in the Olympics, the last 2 Olympics. So these kinds of international tournaments are the only time they really get to prove who has the best hockey players in the world. It used to be Canada, hands down, and the Soviets. And Americans, we've become a force to be reckoned with. And we, in fact, won that game against Canada in Montreal, which was delicious. But we've got to close it out tonight with a win. Now, Donald Trump was invited by the Team USA captain, Bill Guerin, but Trump has announced that he will not be attending. He says, I'll be calling our great American hockey team this morning to spur them on toward victory tonight against Canada, which, with far lower taxes and much stronger security, will someday, maybe soon, become our cherished and very important 51st state. Trolling the Canadians. Where will Trump be tonight? He will be at a meeting of the Republican governors in Washington, D.C. He says, sadly, I will be unable to attend, but we will all be watching, and if Governor Trudeau would like to join us, he is most welcome. He is most welcome. Good luck to everybody and have a great game tonight. So exciting. Yes. Jeff, you follow this much closer than I do. Thumbs up. U.S. win tonight. Thumbs up. U.S. not win tonight. He's shaking his head no, folks. I don't doubt Jeff. He's very savvy when it comes to these matters of sports. So what was Donald Trump doing yesterday besides determining that he could not go to the U.S.-Canada Four Nations hockey tournament final? He signed an executive order last night barring illegal immigrants from receiving federally funded benefits. Ooh, my. Now, lest you think he conjured this out of thin air and the Democrats will, well, they most assuredly will try to not follow it in sanctuary cities around the country. But this is Donald Trump essentially doubling down and stiffening something called the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act. Boy, they need to really work on naming these things in Washington. When did that come about? 1996. Who was president then? That's right, Bill Clinton. The Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act of 1996 prohibits illegal immigrants from obtaining most taxpayer-funded benefits. But of course, the Biden administration did not observe that and in fact expanded it. And we have seen untold billions of dollars spent on illegal immigrants over the last 4 years. This has, of course, proven to be a magnet to draw migrants to the United States of America. Come to the U.S. where we have freedom, liberty, free Visa cards, free phones, free hotels, and free 3 square meals a day. Yes, shockingly, our immigration escalated when we started giving out free stuff financed by yours and my tax dollars. Trump's executive order directs the head of every federal agency to identify all federally funded programs that agency administers, which permit illegal aliens to obtain any cash or non-cash public benefit. The executive order directs government officials to, quote, ensure consistent with applicable law that federal payments to states and localities do not, by design or effect, facilitate the subsidization or promotion of illegal immigration or abet sanctuary city policies that shield illegal aliens from deportation. This is wonderful. This is good. And hopefully it will have the requisite cooperation that this will not happen. But of course they won't in some cities, and they'll have to go in and they'll have to crack heads and they'll have to threaten them with taking away their federal dollars. And they need to do that. They need to make an example of some locality. I don't care if it's New York. I don't care if it's LA. I don't care if it's Boston. I don't care. But do it, make it hurt, and show them who the boss is of the executive branch of government. And all these agencies under him, whether it's HHS, whether it's any other agency that administers aid to people, stop the nonsense. Return the money to citizens first, America first. That's what needs to happen. Now, meanwhile, Lee Zeldin, the head of the EPA, the guy who ran for governor of New York, and unfortunately for people in the Empire State, Kathy Hochul won. Lee Zeldin says he has found $20 billion that was stashed in a bank account that could be doled out. It was basically hidden to be spent on climate initiatives. Who got a tenth of that money? An organization called Power Forward Communities. Who's the head of Power Forward Communities? Oh, that would be the never elected governor, despite her protestations otherwise, Stacey Abrams. She and her climate freaks were earmarked for $2 billion of this money. Now, Lee Zeldin noted when he found this money that Stacey Abrams' organization reported just $100 in revenue in 2023. $100 in revenue. What kind of an impact can you make on the climate for $100? Nothing, okay? But if Joe Biden and his cronies decide to give you $2 billion, you also can make zero impact on the environment, because God is in charge of the environment, not Stacey Abrams or AOC or anybody else. But they were just going to hand her $2 billion. Lee Zeldin found it. He's clawing it back. And this is what needs to happen. And these kinds of, I mean, I think they're illegal. I think they're certainly immoral. Pushes by the federal government to advantage its favorites and penalize those who have differing views. This has to stop, and Trump is moving to stop it. So he's moving to stop any government payments, any taxpayer money given to illegals, and he is directing his agencies to look at their expenditures and say, where's this money going? Who's it being given to? What is it doing? If it's not done to accomplish any noble purpose that dovetails with my mission of America First, then we are going to eliminate it.
Planning for retirement is no small task. If you don't know where to start, join Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group every Saturday at 10 and 2 for Retire Ready Ohio. Rodney shares helpful tips and strategies that just might change the course of your retirement. Listen every Saturday at 10 and 2 to Retire Ready Ohio with Rodney Peters.
My ultimate teammate and confidant of the last 32 years.
Mitch McConnell is speaking in Washington, saying that he's not going to seek re-election in 2026. Thank goodness. He should be long since retired and back to his old Kentucky home to enjoy life out of the spotlight rather than falling down the steps in Washington, D.C. or freezing up on camera.
Yeah, I don't think the U.S. is going to get him again.